This is Ukraine Media Center. Your anchor is Svetlana Cheparenko. We are talking this morning about business with reputation, those who shape the ethics of the business environment in Ukraine. Today's event will include two parts. The participants of the first parts are Roman Vashchuk, the Business Ombudsman of Ukraine, Olha, Savran, the manager of the OECD Anti-Corruption Network for Eastern Europe and Central Asia, and also Daria, Bilinska, the head of the business development at UNIC. Daria, shall I start with you? Will you tell us about what UNIC is? How does it support the ethical entrepreneurship in Ukraine? About your award. Welcome, everybody. Today we celebrate not only the winners, but we also are talking about the role that the business reputation has and plays in Ukraine. My organization is called UNIC, the initiative of the collective action. What does it mean? It means that the network includes responsible businesses to be implemented in Ukraine, the system of corporate management and compliance. We are all working toward the end that the whole environment works according to these principles of transparency and compliance. This organization is a bridge between the Ukrainian government, business community, and local businesses. We have been founded by such organizations as OECD, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the United Nations Development Program, and other initiatives of the European Union. Amongst these institutions, we are working among them, and we aid to implement the practices for the Ukrainian companies to be competitive in the European and world markets. We are constantly thinking about the ways how to beef up this cooperation between businesses, the Ukrainian businesses and Ukrainian government. This is where the award comes from. This award is presented to those who are using these principles and applying them to their business practices. One of the goals, a main goal, is to demonstrate to the international business society and international institutions specific projects by the Ukrainian businesses to develop and improve their business ethics. In these critical times, methodologically, it's not enough to read the booklets. In the times of war, we need to double down on these efforts as compared to peaceful times. Our finalists and our winners and runners-up are symbolic of that. Of course, we want to inspire other Ukrainian businesses to follow the suit. We are talking and celebrating our winners. We will present them. The official award ceremony will take place at the Forum of Business Integrity, and we invite everybody to join in. We want you to know how companies can monetize the integrity ways. The forum will be part of the month of integrity. It is called Crisis is the Possibility for Growth, which seems to be in line with the ways Ukrainian businesses are working now. It's supported by the initiatives of the European Union. Roman, can I turn to you? We have just heard that it is important for Ukrainian businesses to be part and parcel of the European market, including perhaps integrity. Will that impact the institutional climate in Ukraine? Of course, they shape and impact the business climate. You will be witnessing the fact that those winners and those who were participating are already leading businesses in Ukraine. We have to get this message to the Ukrainian society. Here, corruption has become a staple, a meme. Everyone is corrupted. Everyone is corrupted. Government is corrupted. No one is free of corruption. In such a country, businesses that are so scrupulous about their businesses must be leading the way. They must be working about their inner mode and health, and they will eventually become leaders in their areas. A comparison is like this. When I sit at the sofa at home, drinking Coca-Cola and eating chips and voicing my unhappiness and grievances to the whole world, I will not be as successful as those who are doing something, people that are manufacturing and working on their, what I shall call, business muscles, rather than sitting on your hands and doing nothing. We'll be analyzing the cases that have applied for the award, and I would like to follow up, Roman, with you. What should we do to make sure that this is not a case scenario, but it must be scaled? I think it's a matter of what UNIC is suggesting. One thing is this. The other thing is that the government should be encouraging law-abiding and prosecuting those who do not abide the law, rather than searching for the smaller faults and split hairing, because people are ready to work, and those who are working in the shadow business must not be rest on their laurels. So there is a commitment from both the businesses and the government. I believe that the companies participating in today's award competition want their competitors to do something as well. But there is an attitude that must be voiced by the government-run businesses. We might turn here to the newly appointed general prosecutor. He was working for the taxation system. He knows everything, how the regulation impacts the businesses. He perhaps must send a relative signals to a criminality will be punished and integrity will be awarded. Thank you. Olga, can I turn to you now? And as a member of the jury who were selecting the cases and companies within these award competition, on your experience, the cases that an application that you have seen, do you see any trend of the transformation of Ukrainian business towards integrity? Or is it just a case-on-case scenario for specific Ukrainian companies? Thank you. In the first place, I would like to emphasize that this is a unique fact that under the bombardment and missiles and shellings, Ukraine is participating in such a competition, demonstrating such forward-looking practices that would be advanced, perceived as advanced strategies here in the OECD countries. Is it a trend? I would like to say positive. However, there are some nuances here. What we have seen in these awards competition, what we have seen is that Western businesses working in Ukraine are initiating and bringing in the practices of integrity, because at their headquarters this is a must. They are doing this in an innovative and exciting way, using the information technologies and jumping the gun. I would say that those businesses that have not been awarded, they have demonstrated very interesting initiatives such as SKF or Ocean. And this is a normal because Ukraine is part of Europe. What is good is that we have seen larger, major Ukrainian businesses leading the way. Everyone knows that Kyivstar, for example, internationally and domestically has become a leader of the integrity business in their sector and area. This is not to be wondered about. What was positive to see, for example, for myself personally, is to see smaller businesses of Ukraine who are doing these compliance programs on their own. And for me, Aurora was one of the very happy examples when a business helps other smaller businesses in Ukraine to start working in a integrity-driven philosophy. It is a trend. A trend in Ukraine is education, and the fact that companies want to get some education, the Academy for Open Data, or what UNIC is doing, what Kyivstar is doing, I think this is what the future holds for us. I believe that for us, what matters as an important signal that there is a trend starting, that government-run companies are joining the bandwagon. There are important players. They are setting the rules for other companies to follow. And the fact that government-run companies are internally reforming themselves is a very important fact. And I agree with what Roman has suggested. This is a small trend. We had 13 companies. I would like to see 130 next year. However, we don't see the impact of the state in this area. This is where the public also must act very efficiently. There is a demand of the society for such initiatives. For me, it was a surprise to see that SKF company, I think the manufacturing, they have their compliance program have been recognized in terms of customs clearance. It's a good example if a government can do and initiate more stimuli for such companies, it will be a good thing. But apart from carrot, you have to have also a stick. Of course, those companies who are still engaged in corruption, the government must punish them. And we don't see that so far. And I believe that Roman is right in saying that these two roles of the government must be strengthened. I hope that Ukraine will join anti-corruption working group of the OECD in encouraging the more active role of the government. This will require reform in legislation and reforms in compliance with these norms in practice. In the first place, it implies punishing those companies that are corrupted. Perhaps this is a first or a second step, but there is a lot of work in front of us. In the case that you have analyzed, what is it that you have identified as a thing that we lack here as compared to foreign experiences? What is a unique situation relating to the war environment? Now, to be sure, I've mentioned a company called Aurora that I have been so excited about. And I was very pleased with their results. This, in times of war, it is very difficult for smaller businesses to survive, let alone to function abroad. Such an initiative stemming from a private company in helping smaller businesses to come out of the shadow business and work according to the law, according to terms of compliance, is something that I have never seen before in other countries. This is what I call a social responsibility, and I think it's very important and very good. SKF, that I have already mentioned, gives an opportunity to use compliance programs as a allowance you receive from the customs to enjoy the green line. Must be scaled up to the whole world. Roman, can I turn to you? What is your impression about the awards? What have you been excited about? The mold, the strategic vision? The thing that you have just mentioned, this is what surprised me. The management of the businesses are thinking strategically. They're thinking from the word go. It's not an embellishment. Let us add something, exciting that will feature on our site some nice, funny words about compliance. What we have seen in one of the major Ukrainian company, from the word go, they have been changing the principles of how regulations are set, the way they think about the consequences of these regulations. What I have seen over the time that I've been here in Ukraine, and it has to do with the government programs. Some demands are set out, but the consequences are not thought about. But the management of the companies are thinking in a systemic way, systemic consequences. When we think about the ways things are bought and acquired, we have to change the ways how the demands are announced. This is a comprehensive approach, trying to change the fundamental ways, including a larger network, working with their suppliers, for example. I'm talking about systemic changes that are not only scraping the bottom, but it changes the relations between the players among the suppliers and also impact the relations with the international participants. It has to do with the participation of the company and our winners. Journalists and guests, do you have questions to our speakers at the first part of this presentation? Once you desire to do so, you will be given the microphone. Do you have questions or ideas that you would like to share or comment on? It looks as if we don't have questions. A smaller personal question, Mr. Vashchuk. You mentioned that it has been a tradition now that Ukraine is viewed as a country with endemic corruption. In reality, this is not so, but the stereotype is still there. Can such awards and the trends that you set with your winners, can they change the stereotype for the Western recipient? I think positive. We have to present them in a language that people abroad understand. About a month ago, I was invited to talk in Alberta, in Canada, and I was, of course, mentioning and showcasing our winners. These are the people. These were the people who paid money to talk about and think and listen about Ukraine. They paid money for that, and that was the break of the stereotype through the social network. they see how negative an image is of Ukraine. And their success story is something that they don't believe in. This is a stereotype broken. We have to talk to them in the way that private businesses talk about themselves rather than with the dry language of reports. That is to say, I think this should be taken on board very seriously. And coming back to Ukraine, I was talking to Forbes people here in Ukraine, and I told them that English language version of this award must be there. One thing is when the Ministry of Economy says we have changed something. The other thing is the brand known to the people abroad with the real stories of real success stories. And I would go back to the first question that I don't think I have covered comprehensively. How does it impact the European markets? It is having a positive impact because we see the skills that we can use here in Ukraine. That does not necessarily mean that things are ideal in Europe. We should not be artificially idolize them. But the fact that predictability of legislation is very important. Our businesses that in their volume 95% have their goods going abroad. Of course, such regulations will impact their internal regulations. So such a form of regulation is very positive. Daria, I think it's high time we should announce winners both offline and online. In a nutshell, I will talk about nominations. These include day-to-day operations of Ukrainian businesses, and we have a nomination, development of integrity teams. It's about companies training their employees, whether these are people in the office, in the front office, or they are workers. They are enlightened about in corporate management in an integrity way. The winner here is ABS Ukraine. Other nomination is external activity and how they counteract with their counter-agents and the way they invest to alter the business environment to live up to the integrity principles. In this nomination, Aurora Multimarket is the winner. Another nomination is the most complex, perhaps, in terms of in assessing. It's called unbroken, unwavering compliance. This supposes a opportunity for the company to grow in times of war. Here the winner is Kyivstar. Grand Prix award is awarded to the companies that have fallen behind the nominations I have mentioned. Ukrainian Railways is the winner here. I have mentioned the finalists and their projects. We had 8 runners-up. I would like to mention them: Roche Ukraine, SKF Ukraine, Bank Globus, and Academy of You Control. We appreciate all the runners-up and the winners. Let me invite the companies that I have just mentioned to join us here at the rostrum, and the representatives of Kyivstar and Aurora will be joining us online. Let us have a talk about how come you have been so much successful. I would like to give the floor to the representative of the Abinbev Ukraine. How have your integrity policy changed the environment in your team? How flexible your team have been? And did you have any specifically difficult moments? Welcome, colleagues. Indeed, in implementing our project within the Compliance Month initiative, we have been able to showcase to our employees the fact that compliance is not that complex. They're very accessible to our workers and employees. We showcase specific cases, and we were showing some movies about how to scale this experience. We were underlining the fact that these are the benchmarks for our everyday lives and work. And I can think that we have received much more applications. Of course, we have seen so many complaints. Now we are seeing requests, and this is a sea change in our practices. Problems, of course, they're there, but they have to do with the work ethics, because compliance is something formal. This is a function that perhaps is called to punish those who breach the law, but we want to have an image of ours that we are standing for those and with those who speak understandable, simple language of equity. I would like to invite to talk to us the representative of the Kyivstar company. Integrity is one thing, but the continuity of such a culture of integrity. What is it that you are doing in these stressful times for the Ukrainian businesses? Integrity, what is it about? It's about compliance, it's about continuity. What is it all about? In the first place, I would like to thank the Ukrainian Integrity Network, Integrity and Compliance Network, to be invited. I think it's an honor to participate in such a competition. I think it will aid us in developing of this country, of my company, of developing a culture and attitude where it is prestigious to be a company of integrity, because such companies about a decade ago, for example, the Kyivstar company, that when we were initiating integrity philosophy, we were looked at askance, people would ask, can such a thing happen? But over the last decade, I have seen a lot of progress here, because it is a prestigious thing to work for the company of integrity, and I would like such a trend to grow in our country. As for the question per se, it is very important to build a stable culture of integrity. Of course, in this stressful time of crisis, of COVID, of full-scale invasion, all the achievements are assessed within the culture that you have built. Culture is the foundation. Of course, procedures, processes are important, but indeed, leadership is uber important. The management, the top management, the middle management, their functions are very important. When everything is based on values not only visible on your plaques on the walls, these values should be everywhere, in the process, in the attitude. In my company, compliance is a responsibility of everybody. Another thing is engagement. People want to have the feeling of belonging, that they're part of the company. You mentioned that it is worth awarding those who are people of integrity. People must know that this is part of our work. It's a demand of company for everybody, especially relating to the top management of the company. Such people must be awarded, and of course a negative attitude to all the possible breaches of integrity. Another thing is socially responsible business in these testing times, and I think our company is an example of social responsibility. We are running a lot of socially responsible projects. Perhaps you are aware of those. I think I've taken too much of the time. Let us now turn to the representative of the Aurora company, a company that has built relations of integrity and continuity with their suppliers and agents. Do you think that your policy of integrity has changed the environment around you, has changed your partners? Thank you for the invitation, and thanks for the fact that my company has been awarded in this nomination. Practically speaking, indeed, all the actions that we targeted towards our companies and suppliers. For example, we did not define very strictly our relations with our contractors. The plan is in our DNA, and our relations with contractors was defined by this philosophy where we have a lot of contractors, starting with managers, category managers, and founders and CEOs, other members of the top management of our contractors. This is where we receive the feedback about our conduct, and it, of course, impacts our relations. We inform them about our plans, our projects, and our values when we select contractors or suppliers. This has given us an opportunity where contractors have become more open to us, following our suits and implementing the regulations and policies that we have shared with them at our meetings. Another important issue is that we have implemented an electronic cabinet of a supplier. This is where contractor can build a all-encompassing relations. They see the volumes of sales, the volumes of our plans. They see the margin of sales in these areas. So we are coming from the win-win situation as a basis. The trust is something that we build our relations, our development plans that we are building together for us to grow better and better. We have actual example when one of our contractors, we started at the level of 2 million hryvnias per month. It took some time, of course. This company has reached the 15 million hryvnia per month of revenue and turn of goods. This is all due to the dialogue and our open relations, and we are open to other companies. You can apply through our site to our company how you are supposed to apply with your commercial proposal, how the commercial proposition must be verbalized and structured. Within our team, we have a time sensitive schedule of and how to respond to our potential contractors. These are the aspects that we've been working on. We didn't stop there, including the fact that at the end of 2024, together with Forbes Ukraine, we have opened a program of Aurora for the entrepreneurs. In this program, any enterprise could apply with their applications. We received about 600, that were assessed by independent committee, not only from Aurora, and Forbes were helping us. As a result, we have selected 10 winners receiving a grant of 1 million hryvnias. So we had 10 million hryvnias for that project. And by the way, contractors were not granted a winner status, not only from our circuit. So we are sure that if and when company is open in the ethic conduct and in see that their partners and contractors follow the suit, we can change the whole ecosystem, the foundations of a further growth and success of Ukraine. So we are so happy that we have been a driving force of such future prosperity. Let's talk about Grand Prix Ukrainian Railways. It's so nice to see government-run company here. Ukrzaliznytsia seems to be an exception. Have you been preparing your team for the fact that integrity is not a torn from the reality incident? What do you do to make it a lasting trend? Thank you for the invitation. It's so good to be here. Indeed, it's an honor to present one of the major Ukrainian companies here. Given that, my answer is as follows. Anti-corruption office at Ukrzaliznytsia that has anti-corruption compliance demands was founded in 2024. Since word go, we realized that the goal was not to write a policy or to implement a set of measures. When we say Ukrzaliznytsia is now compliant and we are free of corruption. Now we understand that our goal is the change of culture. Integrity is the word that implies different understanding from different people. Our goal is to make sure that our employees at Ukrzaliznytsia, and we understand that we can impact other areas of life. We have about 170,000 employees with children and families. We have contractors and our suppliers. Of course, the compliance and integrity program and philosophy of Ukrzaliznytsia must become a philosophy for the whole country. So our goal is to work with culture. To shape such a culture, you need to have a framework and the rules of the game. Correspondingly, 2024 is the year when we have been working so much on writing down procedures and regulations for them to comply with the criteria where we wanted to come up with the very specific cases relative to the challenges we face. So this is where our project was given birth to. Some elements were there, but we began with checking the internal documents. Internal documents, on the one hand, is quite complex because part of the documents must be checked for corruption elements, but there are other decrees and documents within the company that excludes the checkup of every single document. And we thought, how do we make sure that such documents must be structured in a way where abuses are not possible, where there are no gaps, which leads me to the educational program and raising awareness, including different booklets and online courses. When we go to specific regions, we talk to people about such endeavors. It all has been transformed into the next step when our activity is doubled down on the efficiency of the whole process. This is a never-ending process because culture is being transformed on a daily basis. And of course, our goal to change the culture includes the checks where we want to see how efficient the program is. The program must be adjusted, of course. A lot of internal rules of the play that our team knows about will be going through a new next step where they will be reviewed and assessed. Of course, every internal control mechanism must be efficient, must not preclude the company from growing. We must make our decisions very efficient and timely without any possibility of abuse or corruption. You see, it's not about ethics in particular, it's about culture, which is an ongoing process. Thank you. I would like to turn to the audience. Do you have questions for the winners? The process is as always. You raise your hand, you are given a microphone. It doesn't seem the case that we have questions. Thank you, everybody. I welcome our winners and congratulate them on winning such a prize. We've been talking about the businesses with reputation and those who are shaping the new business environment in Ukraine. Ukraine Media Center will resume our operation at 1 o'clock. We'll be talking about business, tourism businesses in Ukraine, where the foreigners are coming to Ukraine in the times of war. Stay tuned.